EMR setup, preferred drugs list. One of the conveniences Prognosis provides both at a clinic and at a provider level is the ability of defining preferred lists. Now, although this setup is not mandatory, it is recommended when implementing the prescription module. Preferences can be defined at a clinic level through settings configuration for those with appropriate administrative rights. In addition, there's a property that can be turned on so that when a new drug is prescribed, it can automatically update the preferred list. In addition to clinic level preferences, providers can also have personal preferred lists under their user ID. These will also be available to any clinician who is prescribing a drug based on the attending provider of the encounter. In both instances, you are encouraged to define the individual drug level details, such as strength, frequency, dosage, to ensure efficiency when you are creating a new prescription. So in this first instance, I'm logged in as the system administrator, and I'm going to go under Settings Configuration, and then in my second column from the left, I'm going to choose Preferred Drug. Now, if you're a brand new client, this of course is going to be an empty list to start with. And in order to add individual drugs, you simply click this plus sign icon. That is going to invoke the first data bank drug library. You'll notice, as we've discussed in previous videos, when a drug is listed in lowercase, that is the generic. When it is capitalized, that is the name brand. So you do have the ability of assigning both generic as well as name brands to your list. You simply choose the drug that you would like to add. Notice, since this is a multiple search screen, we have the checkboxes in the left-hand margin. You are able to choose multiple drugs within each session. Now, both my Lamictal and Xanax has now been added, and you see them in the alternating blue, whereas the lines in the alternating gray color are the ones I've already saved. You'll notice in the right margin for each of those that I've already saved, there's a count. The system does keep a count within the last 180 days as to how many times that drug was prescribed. Now I'm going to go ahead and save these two, and it's going to give me an error that I need to define the dispensable drug details. You don't want to just add a drug with no strength, frequency, and dosage, because that defeats the purpose of defining a preferred list. So for each individual drug, you want to be sure to click this dispensable details icon, and this allows you to choose at a drug level the specific dosage that you frequently prescribe. Let's say for the Lamictal, we are typically prescribing it in 25 milligram dosage. For electronic prescribing, you do need to indicate the dosage type, so I'm going to go ahead and say that that is a tablet. You can also indicate your preferred frequency. We'll go ahead and say QD. If you would like a typical prescription to be in a 30-day quantity, you can also specify that so that your dispense bulk auto-calculates. And then you simply click OK to save it. Go ahead and do the same thing with the Xanax. And now when I save both of my drugs, it tells me save successful, and you notice those drugs have been added to my list. Now this was at the clinic level. Now when we log in as Dr. Cooper to create his preferences, those are going to be specific to his user ID. You'll notice here on Dr. Cooper's homepage, he has a link called My Preferences. And again, there is a choice here for drugs. And notice his list is substantially larger than the list we just looked at the clinic level. This is because Dr. Cooper has already created his frequently used prescriptions that he sees when he logs into the prescription screen. Now, the provision here is exactly the same. You're going to click the plus sign, choose the drug that you would like to add. It gets appended at the very bottom of the list with the blue color until you've updated it. Click the dispensable details and save it. Now quickly, I'm going to open up a prescription screen while I'm still logged in here as Dr. Cooper. We do cover this in all of the prescription videos, but just to give you the visual tie-in here, I'm going to go ahead and open up the prescription screen. So if I click the plus sign down here in my dispensable drug table, notice it does default to my preferred list. Now, since I am logged in as Dr. Cooper, I'm seeing a large list that combines the clinic level preferred as well as my own preferences that we just defined. Now, a side note here is if there is a drug I need to prescribe that is not already on my preferred list, and I go into my all list, there is a system property that I can enable at a practice level that will automatically update my preferred list with that new drug. And that, of course, would be assigned at local preference. Now, when I log in as Connor Walsh, the medical assistant, the list that Connor sees is going to be based upon who the attending provider on the encounter for which the prescription applies. For example, here with Jamal Lyon, Dr. Cooper is the provider. So when I do the drug lookup on a prescription for Jamal, I am actually seeing a combination of Dr. Cooper's preferred list as well as the clinic preferred lists. That's why you'll notice some of them are repeated. Now, as Connor, if I choose one of Dr. Koothrappali or Dr. Butler's patients, since they will have their own preferences that are different from Dr. Cooper's, notice it's a far different list. He had 3 pages on Dr. Cooper's encounter, whereas he only has 1 page here on Dr. Butler's. So in review, it is recommended that you define preferred drugs to make the prescription process easier. Your preferences can be defined at a clinic level, which can be auto-updated based on a property when a new drug is chosen. Providers also have their own personal lists under their user IDs in addition to the clinic preferred. And both clinic level and provider level can be defined with individual drug level dispensable details so that by choosing from the preferred list, your prescription is complete with 1 click.